The Tennessee night was unnaturally still. A heavy mist crawled over the rolling hills of Adams, swallowing the Old Bell Farm whole. In the thick of the woods, the gnarled branches of ancient trees scratched against each other with hollow creaks, whispering secrets no man was meant to hear. John Bell, Jr. pulled his coat tighter around his shoulders as he approached the crumbling farmhouse. It had been abandoned for decades, yet tonight some force, pulled him back. The townsfolk warned him. His own family had begged him. But something deep in his blood, something ancient, had awoken, and it would not be silenced. The wooden floorboards moaned under John's boots as he pushed open the rotten front door. It swung back with a reluctant groan. The inside of the farmhouse was a tomb. Dust hung in thick sheets, and the smell of decay clung to every surface. His lantern cast a jittery light on the walls, revealing deep claw marks gouged into the wood. John swallowed hard, every step further and feeling like a step into a grave. Suddenly, thump, a noise upstairs. John jerked his head toward the staircase. His breath quickened. "It's just the house settling," he muttered, though the words sounded hollow in his ears. The lantern flickered violently, shadows stretching and writhing along the walls. Then a low, mocking whisper floated down from the darkness above. "You should not have come." 2 centuries earlier, the Bell family had been cursed. Kate Batts, a bitter neighbor, had sworn revenge on John Bell Sr. with her dying breath, her voice carrying to the fields like a black wind. "I will haunt you and your bloodline until the end of days." And so it began. Grotesque faces in the windows, invisible slaps and pinches, screams in the night. Even the mighty John Sr., once the pride of Adams, was slowly poisoned by an unseen hand. Tonight, John Jr. had returned to face it, to end it, if he could. John crept up the stairs, each step sagging under his weight. At the landing, the air grew colder, the mist seeping in through cracked window panes. The whisper came again, closer this time, like breath against his ear. Your blood will pay." He spun around, lantern swinging wildly, casting brief glimpses of a twisted, blackened figure darting just out of sight. John's heart hammered. His mind screamed to flee, but his legs moved of their own accord, down the narrow hallway toward the master bedroom, the heart of the old curse. The door was slightly ajar. From inside came the rhythmic sound of a rocking chair creaking, though no one should have been there. Pushing the door open, John raised his lantern high. There, illuminated in the feeble glow, was the rocking chair, and in it sat a woman. Her skin was cracked and ashen, her eyes hollow pits of darkness. Her mouth curled into a jagged, impossible smile. The rocking stopped. The woman slowly turned her head toward him, neck popping with emotion like dry branches snapping. John stumbled backward as she rose, the floor beneath her blackening and rotting with every step she took. "John Bell," she hissed, her voice a chorus of many, dead and damned. "You cannot escape the blood price." John bolted, the lantern slipping from his fingers and shattering, plunging the house into darkness. He crashed through the front door, into the churning mist of the fields beyond. Branches clawed at him. Roots tried to snare his feet. Behind him, he heard the pounding of something inhuman pursuing him, shrieking his name with voices that weren't meant for this world. "Get to the river," he thought frantically. The river wards are off. A memory from childhood surfaced, his grandmother whispering tales of how the Bell, which could not cross moving water. But the river was nearly half a mile away, and she was gaining. As John ran, grotesque figures began emerging from the mist, phantoms of long-dead townsfolk. Faces he recognized from paintings, now distorted and bloated with rot. They reached out, clawing at him, their mouths hanging open in endless silent screams. He dodged them, heart ready to burst, muscles screaming in protest. A root caught his foot. He fell hard, the air leaving his lungs in a gasp. Above him, the woman stood again, closer now, her skeletal hand reaching for his throat. With a primal scream, John scrambled up and sprinted toward the rushing sound of the river. The mist parted just enough for John to see the shimmering ribbon of water ahead. Relief surged through him. But just as he reached the bank, a force slammed into his back. sending him sprawling into the freezing current. Underwater, something grabbed his ankle, tight, dragging him deeper. He thrashed, kicking wildly, bubbles escaping his mouth in frantic bursts. His fingers found a rock, and with desperate strength, he heaved himself up, coughing and gasping, finally breaking the witch's grip. On the opposite bank, the blackened figure of the witch screamed in rage, unable to cross. Sopping wet and trembling, John sat on the riverbank, staring back at the spectral figure pacing the opposite shore. Then, slowly, she raised her arm and pointed directly at him. "Your time is borrowed." Her voice carried unnaturally over the water. "Your bloodline will pay. You will summon me again." John shook his head violently. "Never," he shouted, voice cracking. The witch only laughed, a horrible, shrill sound that echoed through the trees. And then she was gone, swallowed by the mist. But deep in his soul, John knew the curse had not ended. It had only just begun. That night, fevered and broken, John dreamed. He saw the town of Adams burning, screams rising into a blood-red sky. He saw children twisted and lost, devoured by shadows. He saw himself, older, hollow-eyed, dragging the curse into a new century. When he awoke, he was lying outside his family's abandoned graveyard, surrounded by the crumbling stones of his ancestors. On one, freshly scratched into the stone, was his own name, and a date, tomorrow's date. John fled Adams at sunrise. He didn't say goodbye. He didn't look back. But as he drove down the winding road away from the farm, the mist followed, writhing and pulsing, keeping pace with his car. The radio crackled with static. Then, amid the noise, a woman's voice whispered through the speakers. "You cannot run from blood." John's hands gripped the wheel tighter, knuckles white, as a shadow crossed the road ahead. He slammed the brakes, too late. The car lurched off the road, flipping end over end. In the final moments before darkness took him, John swore he saw her face, grinning in the smoke. Decades later, hikers in Adams, Tennessee still speak in hushed tones about the Bell Witch Cave. They say on misty nights, if you listen carefully, you can hear the screams and the sound of a rocking chair creaking in the dark. Some even claim to see a figure standing just beyond the trees, watching, waiting, because the Bell Witch never truly left. She is still here, feeding on fear, waiting for the bloodline to summon her once more. And when they do, there will be no escape.